Oh, good morning, everybody. It is the big morning, January the 13th. Keep going. 2017. Say what? 2017, Dana? Yeah, that's right. It's 2017. I'm Dana Durnford, your host, the nuclear proctologist.org. And we are live streaming this camera, that camera, okay. And today, of course, we're getting the kinks out of the system, trying to get all these cameras to coordinate, and lights, and blah, 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 blah. While you're live streaming is tricky, trust me. So we're in day 5. It's kind of like being 5 days without painkillers. On your 5th day, your body's like, oh, I'm becoming numb. But when it comes to nuclear, that's kind of impossible. Impossible. Dana, did you say impossible? I say impossible. These people are all dead. By the way, they're all me. It's just a depiction from a picture, but it's me overlaid with a few different helmets and painter suits. But if it was real, then they would all die before that day was out. And if you were going in the building, you're going to die for sure within that day or within 2 weeks. And the fuel pools have disappeared, and the reactor cores, of course, were up high. The entire inventory is somewhere where, these buildings detonated. So that has to be taken into account. And what we're doing is we're covering the world as we understand it, as this destructive creature unleashed upon our planet known as nuclear. Nuclear is not supposed to exist. They knew this a very, 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 very unbelievable, unimaginable, inconceivable long time ago. They were aware. And Rod's been in the Navy. He was well aware a long time ago. But what he has exceeded stupidity of the normal human careers and have brought together other similar like-minded crazies that have a disregard for the nuclear industry and a disregard for humanity and the 8 million species that are on it. And their words speak stronger.
Our doses have all been increased significantly because of radiation, because of medical treatments.
So hit that again.
Our doses have all been increased significantly because of radiation, because of medical treatments.
So what they're doing is they're equating medical isotopes with good. Nuclear, good. Dana, bad. 40% of the Fukushima visitors is my rebuttal. Showed internal exposure to radiation and wasn't from X-ray per se. It was from ingesting ionizing, radiating, deadly isotopes. And cesium is just one out of the thousands of the daughters from the uranium-238 they started with, originally way back when it was mining. Before it hit the reactors, it's got to be like a 235 is fissionable, 232, 233. You get that from the salt reactors they're trying to bring out, but they haven't proved the technology. Japan just shut down.
And yet our lives are longer because of that. And I'm not.
And so we're just picking up from yesterday, 3,000 microsieverts of an internal radiations per hour. All day, every day is not an issue for these people. They don't cure.
It's because...
Well, they cure, but they're going to try to cover it up talking about hormesis. And the IA, this is where we left off. We're going to jump right into it. Takes a few minutes to get up to speed. Good morning, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Where are we all to? Where am I to? Dana, where the frig are ya? I'm getting it. I'm working on it. Ah, worked. See? Not so bad. Yeah. Now, if you believe Rod Adams and crew, then you think that fuel pool is inside the building over there. If you're a normal, everyday, responsible human on this planet, you would know that's patently absurd, and that the people that are propagating that are dangerous, terrifying people. Not mentioning no names on top of my head. Over 30 million permanently affected by Fukushima. Well, permanently is just a single dose, a single exposure, a single time. I like that music, whatever the frig it is. Here we go, keep going. 14,000 square miles, including kids and infants. Millions are sucking it up. Get your isotopes so Rod Adams can have a pension. So the merry band of killers can take advantage of everybody. You know why there's so much contamination? Because the buildings blew up, yeah? Huh? What? Really? They blew up? Go away. Rod Adams didn't show us this, Dana. Rod Adams.
That's a really interesting thing about this.
Is working at a nuclear power plant. Why? Why are they allowing somebody that blatant lies on their websites? If someone is, like if I went to work at that same power plant and I was to tweet out there's a radiological release on this site they're not telling you about, fired, thrown away. But if it said that it's like a banana, so shut your pie hole like Rod would do, then that was okay. You get a promotion, you get a like gas card, you get like a vacation, you get like a hot tub, 2,500 square meter house or something, right? Not saying that's what Rod has or anything. I'm just saying that's what you probably end up with, all the creature comforts, right?
The public fear of radiation is that nuclear medicine has, really grown during the nuclear age.
See, that's not me putting a pause. That's them.
That's a really interesting thing about this is that, when you look at the public fear of radiation, is that nuclear medicine has, really grown during the nuclear age.
You eyeball me, boy. Yeah. Japan's safety standards and radiation levels are unconscionable. What do you think that means, I wonder? You should go link over and read the original stories of each of these articles, and you would understand why, if you know of a way to get Rod Adams arrested and fired, who's in charge of it, that they're aware of what he's up to, so they got a chance to do the moral and ethical thing. Now they're all sat there in the office right now laughing their asses off at me, sucking back to GMO shit. You know, they're sitting there laughing at us, right? This is the fruits of their labor. They're finally got somebody that can dance with them, and they're just like, we need a special task force and fucking equipment and planes and drones, satellite time. Let's get that fucker. Who does he think he is? Coming out talking about the nuclear industry. Who the fuck is that person? Then when they look at me, they get so fucking scared, like, fuck it, leave him alone. No one cares about him anyway. Fuck it, better off leave him alone. They scared the shit out of us. Because the truth is not even known by most of the people sat there right now with a big target painted on my fucking head. Should turn around and go after their bosses and leak everything to WikiLeaks or some organization. What they're doing to everybody that dissents. It's okay if you come out and you suck the nuclear industry's boots all day, like Rod Adams, mass murderers, and tell lies. But to come out and tell the truth, no. Why should Rod Adams tell you anything? Why would like he tells you it's like this when it's like the one to the left? Like Tokyo. Sorry. Tokyo. Let me turn that down. Tokyo. Here, try it again. What the frick is wrong with this? Oh, I was screwing with the audio yesterday. That's right. My apologies if it's not working proper. Hugs for everybody. Good morning, everybody. Elaine, Stacy, just getting here. I'm your author. Scramble. Deb. Huma. Hi, everybody. Kathy. If I don't do it when I think about it, it usually doesn't get done, right? Censor. Hello, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Everybody out there in TV land. Rock and roll land. How's the audio this morning? It was a little rougher earlier. I kind of got that sorted out. I'm trying to sort out, because it's this whole week now I haven't had to struggle with a green screen and with the lights and everything else, so it frees you up to come out and go bangity bangity bang like we've been doing, but I'm not used to having that latitude. Like, I gotta unplug my fridge before I stream. I have to unplug my laptop so it's not feeding into the circuit. There's nothing, no lights on in the building whatsoever. Trying to isolate the audio as much as I can to clean it, keep it clean. Because it doesn't matter if I got all the bling in the world that I throw at you, right? Don't matter the stage. It doesn't matter the angles I give you. It don't matter. It don't matter. I got no idea what that was all about. Oh yeah, I know what that was all about. I had number 2. There's something turned on there for that to turn up like that. But the reality of it is.
And I'd say that the number of people who refuse medical treatment because it might involve radiation of some kind is probably really small.
Well, TEPCO paid for creation blacklisted musicians, anti-nuclear blogger. They spent 12 million yen
probably
right
most
away.
People, my mother got a Technetium 99 scan a few years ago.
Bringing in Technetium
no
99
whatsoever. She just,
And I'm not so worried about people who refuse the treatment as much as I am about how many treatments are not available because of the incredible cost that is imposed on the medical profession for handling radioisotopes, and also because of the fears of radiation. We have a tremendous amount of difficulty getting medical isotope reactors built and operating.
Well, we're supposed to, because it's hard to imagine something more frightening than 5-year-olds marching off to a radiated school playgrounds with Geiger counters strapped to their chest, you know?
I find that another thing that I find absolutely amazing is that in America, of all places, why is I don't mind that we are your number one supplier, but why are we your number one supplier? You guys
because
they've
shut down
because other countries know better, right? That's what's going on.
Talk to people who worked at the fast flux test reactor at Hanford. They are still in mourning about this tremendously great reactor that produced the highest quality isotopes in the world.
That's a scary word.
This sounds incredible to people.
Here's Hanford.
There are 40 miles of unlined trenches at Hanford. You stretch them end to end, into which our federal government, your government, was dumping radioactive waste from nuclear weapons production and its own reactors until the year 2004, when we put those pictures on air and in our campaign literature for Initiative 290.
Now, I made that video pre-Fukushima.
And and it was shut down for political reasons.
You're talking about Hanford, the same spot.
Having to do with, anti-nuclear sentiments.
No, it was medical isotopes.
And the public is that they also deliberately dumped out of the high-level nuclear waste tanks in the 1950s and 1960s billions of gallons of liquids into the soil, and it is very, very toxic. It is radioactive. It includes uranium, that with half-lives of hundreds of thousands of years, and plutonium, and technetium-90, and strontium-90, and technetium-99, and all sorts of chemicals as well. And it's a witch's brew of deadly wastes, and it's all moving towards our lifeblood, the Columbia River.
Yeah, and so a 500 square mile facility, if this was cold, you just go in there and start growing vegetables. But because it's nuclear, you can never go in there, even you. And everything in the river alongside of it, it has to be by water. It sucks up 1 million gallons a minute, these reactors. There's 5
The only one
of them
left is
there.
ATR, right?
Yeah. So, again, it's ignorance having to do with risk versus benefit. And if I may...
So risk versus benefit is what they're saying when they closed down Hanford. But here's how bad it was.
This is probably the most dangerous stuff on the planet ever. Very, very small quantities of this waste. And it's been said that a Dixie cup full of this waste in a crowded restaurant, everyone would be dead in the restaurant inside of an hour. Even the amount that would fit.
Yeah, and that audio's screwed up. Even the amount that would fit on the leg of a... Even the amount that would fit on a leg of a fruit fly. On the leg of a fruit fly was a serious dose. And they evacuated these facilities because of fruit flies, hot fruit flies, and wasp, right? At Hanford. Right? Like, you should wear... It's insane that this exists, that they got away with what they got away with so far.
Be autobiographical for a while. I had all of these negative opinions about nuclear power, and I was arguing with Rip Anderson, who was trying to straighten me out about my ideas about nuclear power. And it was a long time before I actually thought about nuclear medicine. That was stored in a completely different part of my brain, because my mother had been cured of cancer by being given cobalt treatments back in the late 1950s.
1950s. 290,000 people, 60 kilometers from Fukushima meltdown. She's using that's two of them used examples of their own parents to lie to you. Just what? Like, they're desperate. You can hear it in their voices every time they're talking, how desperate they are to confirm there's no issues. Extremely high radiation detected along with cobalt-60.
And went on to live another...
Like, 290,000 people versus a few people being cured. But this is just one spot. We're talking about all of Japan. We're talking about millions. And 97% of the people get treatment for leukemia, gets leukemia cancers and treatments at, radiation treatment. 97% dies before they would have without the treatment. 3% chance of living any longer than you would have without it, which you have anyway. You have like a 7 or 8% chance of living longer without it, apparently, at least. It's crazy what they done. And what now they're continuing to do when they're trying to hide.
And went on to live another 20, 30 years.
This is why these people exist. Cancer is the last one to show up. Right? Cancer takes 10, 20, 30, 40 years to manifest, to get diagnosed. there's 1,800 diseases. If you look at any of the studies of the animals, they all died in 5 years of their lifespans.
And went on to live another 20, 30 years.
So, how about these? They'll go on to live another 20, 30 years, these children, but then they're going to have vicious leukemias and cancers and have to liquidate their assets.
I remember just...
There's leukemias show up before.
The conversation I'd had about nuclear power and radiation and everything, and then I started thinking about nuclear medicine. And it was like, how did I just separate that out? How did I not think about that? And I noticed when I talk to people about nuclear power and I mention nuclear medicine, most people are familiar with it because someone they know or they themselves have had treatments. It's so common now. And
what she's saying, right, is confirming your worst nightmare, where they're using a technique, right, to fool people, right? We'll just talk about medical, but we won't talk about Japan's nuclear agency hides the children's radiation results, right? They're not going to talk about that. No. They're not going to talk how all 10 children tested and what the probabilities of that actually are. No. High possibility children near the city exposed to internal radiation. They're not going to talk about that. No. 50,000 becquerels a kilogram in the soil near Tokyo. They're not going to talk about that. They're talk about medical isotopes. And then when we lull people into this idiocracy of believing the bananas and potato chips, they're walking in sunshine connotations, they're getting on airplanes and climbing mountains. This propaganda, right? This is what she's doing there during the radio show. Just revelry in the idiocracy that they're all participating in.
Positive. So that's another angle to keep in mind.
That's another angle to fucking stick it to you with. Those people should keep in mind. Here's another angle you should keep in mind. Iodine found in 50% of the children's thyroid when it's normally just 3 in a million. 3 in a million. Not 50% of the children you test. 3 in a million. See? And it never goes away. 35,000 microsievers. If you looked at your Geiger counter and seen that, you'd get up and you fucking run. And you didn't take the Geiger counter. You're too busy running if you understood what that actually meant. The implications are dramatic. If it was your child and you found out they'd done this to you, you'd be looking at a fucking manslaughter trial.
Would you say that was one of the sort of considerations that sort of made you start reconsidering?
Yeah, it was like a kind of a. I mean, I had several of these moments, aha moments, and it's where you realize you have a prejudice. So when you, as Niels Bohr said, science is a gradual removal of prejudice.
Yeah, well, Geiger counter is off the scale, so you got no prejudice about killing. The topsoil was replaced by Tokyo. So that meant everything else was contaminated all the way to Tokyo by proxy. And these are the experts who we put in charge, who we entrust with telling us the truth, who work for the system and directly with our governments and our medias in order to get them to come out and deceive you like you've been listening to for 5 days. For 5 days. Is that not humiliating? If that is your friends or your families or your loved ones or your associates, are you not humiliated that you are being in contact with people like that? That people like that actually exist on your planet? Real life supervillains. Real life. These are real life supervillains. They're participating in your destruction and death of the planet, and they're reveling in it, which is what really you found over 5 days. And this is just one radio show over 5 days that we dissected And the consequences of their words are so far off the mark that it takes us 5 days to come out and just do a small section of the radio show and show you how far every sentence.
And so I had developed a certain worldview about anything nuclear and about deadly radiation and about...
She's saying she was wrong and that everybody's wrong about radiation. But she's refusing to acknowledge stuff like this and the implications. That is the most carcinogenic thing that exists. Refusing.
Atomic bombs that might be dropped on Albuquerque. I had a whole...
Whole what? How about this school playground staircase 70 times the maximum allowed? The school. But that there's no conscience there where they're like, well, I think they should evacuate the school because that's pretty crazy. But people could live there because that's when, no matter what you say, pro-nuclear is going to sound batshit crazy, see? So having a soul and allowing the children to get out of there, I probably wouldn't bother them. But the fact that they don't care,
sort of
they lie.
World picture there. And so
75% of the Fukushima, 300,000 children in Fukushima, but the radiation is way past, all the way to Tokyo, way past Tokyo, Osaka. High numbers in the sewage plants, high numbers in the sewage plants. They can't get rid of the sewage. 75% of the children going to school in areas so contaminated, just under one standard of isotopes, so contaminated. Shocking.
Bit by bit, that sort of, you might call it a dream or a nightmare about nuclear power, not reality, was being dismantled in my conversations with Rip and with things I just began to read, and I was determined to prove that Rip was wrong. Even though he has 2 PhDs, I thought I could take a run at it.
Heard everybody laughing. Everybody's laughing. The officials sharply raised the radiation levels. They were laughing then. You can be sure of it. To get iodine pills after Meltdown, they were calling up these people and demanding them to raise the limits. People like Rod and the rest of them were doing that. They came out of articles immediately trying to influence. Like, it's shocking. 75 times higher. And these people would have no issues doing that to your children. They have huge issues if you've done it to theirs.
And it's very articulate. But I thought, he can't be right about it. This goes against everything I know.
20 times higher radioactivity than anything that they call normal by a standard. She utilized their standard, which shouldn't exist, and had 20 times more. And the government's just like, it's all right, whatever.
But Greenpeace says, and Greenpeace wouldn't lie, they're saving baby seals all the time.
Oh, of course they wouldn't.
I mean...
Greenpeace lies, and so do you. And once again, what they're doing is they're trying to hit every angle for 2 hours, almost 2 hours, on the second anniversary of Fukushima, in order to come out with a salacious headline. And parents are accused of being monsters in Japan or anywhere else if they're worried about their children and radiation by these ninnies, these nincompoops that are actually educated mass murderers, that are not dummies, but are groupies of anything that will give them a paycheck. They'll get rid of the bodies in a heartbeat. They have no moral compass. It's so depressing to know these people are in contact with our loved ones and our governments and our institutions and our medias.
Guarding and saving whales. I mean, come on now. So I had to there was a lot I had to go through.
That's Craven
to change my mind and recognize all this prejudice that had been built up by movies, television, newspaper reporting
about nuclear. What she's telling basically is she's trying to say, look, you might have these prejudices. I had them too, and here's what they were, and I was afraid. But now I know it's not bad because you can look at medical and you can see how good it is
and
what she's doing.
Reporting in magazines about deadly nuclear power, about Chernobyl, this and that.
Chernobyl, 3 million children. And Chernobyl is 1/3 the size. Chernobyl. Come on, look at Chernobyl for 1 second. No, you know how to do that, right? Oh, there it kind of is. Let's see what happens if I go that way. That's Chernobyl current. That's the bloop, bloop. And because of that, they got all these graveyards. And because of that little bloop, bloop, there's this huge amount of radiation. I'm going to speed it up a few days. So this is shortly after the accident, over a 2-week period. And you can see it spread over North America and Europe, of course, obviously. But look how radiation went right around the planet in a short period of time. That's Chernobyl, see? That's why you see shit like that. And under 3% of the children exposed to Chernobyl radiation. Chernobyl is hell on earth. And for 10 days, the third sentence down spewed equivalent of 400 Hiroshima bombs over 10 days. Now, of course, when you think about Fukushima, death to the Pacific Ocean. So Fukushima reactor 4 had 1 explosion and 2 fires. But boom. These are just some of like a super core scenario. And that email, there's links below usually. My videos to these emails. And so, I still won't let anybody use the word worst case in the room here because there's about 5 different worst case scenarios. You can see 15,000 fuel rods at the top of the page. 15,000 fuel rods. In just one unit, 1 to 6 were damaged. All the cores of the Fukushima. So if you look at it, you see primary seawater injected, game over. So they had an event was the reason core damage using it 5 and 6 cores are damaged. But Billy, we know, when you look at the pictures, 3 and 4 are completely destroyed. There's no containment because the containment was up high. But this is very interesting material. So if you look here on the bottom right beside me, March the 18th, 100% of the total spent fuel was released to the atmosphere from Unit 4. 100% of the total spent fuel, which is 10 years. It's 5 reactor cores. They stored up high in the buildings. All 96-hour dose projections, Alaska, Hawaii, West Coast, are well below the 1 rim total effect dose protective action guide based on predicted cesium disposition, except for Alaska, where they expected 5 rim. But what happened was about 1 million becquerels. And if you understand anything about isotopes, iodine-131 or the cesium, you just multiply it for their daughter products that you're concerned about. They're fissionable, in particular, because they're hot particles, like americium, neptunium, strontium, technetium, californium, uranium, etc., etc. It's live 9/11/05. I just wanted to finish out on this documentary Let you see the evidence with your own two eyes, make you understand. Like the pictures tell you lots, obviously. The detonations, the blew the rods all over the site. The comparison 190 foot high is game on, right? That's game on for an event. So what you've been learning for the last 5 days is this mockery. We'll pick up there on Monday. Tomorrow we're going to try to do a video on the earthquakes currently happening just off Fukushima and right on the Fukushima prefecture up to 9.0s. And described in the media as 6.4, and later in the media you'll see them on a scale of 7. And we've covered that just before the New Year's, and you had many reactor meltdowns since then. And it's that hour again, that moment again, that time again. Took us a few extra minutes to get through the day's notes. We'll pick up again on Monday. We're just trying to do a radio show to rebuke their lies, and it's taken us 5 days already to do the single radio show. Links are below to that radio show. You can go listen to it. You'll find out I'm giving them a fair shake. Period. They have to be held accountable, and they will never be held accountable. So it's not asking much to take some time and come out and explain it to and use it as a teaching tool for the future students to understand, right? Real life villains. It's better to use them because they're real life villains. They're still doing it to us and to their friends and families and loved ones and everyone they ever come in contact with. The world's a much more dangerous place as long as that is allowed to continue without anybody to challenge them. It's just not tenable. Hugs for everybody. I'm Thursday, LA. 100. Censor. I'm your author. Hugs for everybody. That's the way she works, right? All we can do is come out and do the best we can do. Come out and bang into them. Please remember, it costs a fortune to pull off the stuff I'm pulling off, and please donate, please help. The money really makes the difference. It allows me to do things that are inconceivable to anybody out there. You make me strong. It's the same thing as beating them up yourself. Trust me. You can sit back and enjoy the beating, because I'm going to be delivering on my word forever. Hugs for everybody. That's what Quitman does, right? Take care.